views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
And hello and welcome to Open, the one and only show that opens the Bronx and the rest of the world right to you. I'm your host, Daren, Jaime, and today we'll update you on what's happening in and around our borough, as well as across New York City. Coming up on today's show, tech jobs are coming to the borough of the Bronx. We'll introduce you to a collaboration that's designed to bring new opportunities for people right here in our borough. And then afterwards, we'll discuss a recent report on how city leaders can build a more equitable city through New York City public libraries. Then we'll get the insight into how Bronx small businesses are doing amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. Then also we'll analyze a recent settlement providing accessible restrooms to a New York City educator. We'll give you more details about that later on in the show. And then finally, we'll discuss how one organization is providing critical services for older adults and disabled individuals. So stay tuned because all this and much more is heading your way. Right now, we're officially open. And hello, everyone, and welcome to Open. I am Daren Jaime. We thank you for joining us. And as always, you can join us every week here on BronxNet's Channel 67. You're watching Open, a show that brings the Bronx and New York City straight to you. We also want to welcome our viewers on Manhattan Neighborhood Network, as Open is being broadcast live simultaneously on our MNN channel. Now, you can stay connected to us in a couple of ways. The first way is, of course, you can go to our website at bronxnet.org, and then also on our social media platforms at BronxNet TV. Well, a lot has been going on through the course of the past week. We'll catch you up with a couple of things in our Bronx Updates. We start off with community news, and Bronxites can celebrate the fact that the Tour de Bronx 2021 got off to a great start in Soundview Park. The event was scaled back a little bit due to COVID-19 restrictions, but our BronxNet reporter Arlene Makoko was there, and she brings us the story right now.
The 27th annual Tour de Bronx got off to a great start here in Soundview Park. Unlike last year when the Bronx Borough President and Tourism Council, due to COVID-19, launched the first ever virtual ride up the Bronx River, this year more registered for the President's Ride, also available virtually at ridewithgps.com or ilovethebronx.com, with this event paying tribute to Diaz Jr., whose last day in office is at the end of the year. The route taking cyclists to City Island, the Woodlawn section, and more. Here's Judy Desiree, founder of Uptown Boogie Bicycle.
The highlight of the ride was going to the Maritime College. It's a part of the Bronx I had not seen. I didn't visit before, so it was beautiful to see that.
32 miles. It was good. Yeah. I'm a little exhausted right now, but I'll be fine. I'm glad that I came out.
And joining him on this historic ride, Danielle Raynells from the Northwest Bronx Community and Clergy Coalition.
The borough president's always been a great supporter of this, and he rides every year. So it's amazing to have that in a borough leader.
We had a great group of people who kept us going and safe, and I just felt relaxed and just enjoyed the experience.
And leading the way, Diaz Jr. here at Soundview Park and here at their next stop at Orchard Beach.
It's important to continue the tradition of the Tour of the Bronx. This is not what we normally do. We do it with thousands. We've gone up as high as 8,000 to 9,000 riders from all over the world.
While COVID-19 changed all that, they're encouraging these riders to go virtual.
Riders so that they can do a self-led, self-paced ride. And then hopefully next year we'll be back.
In the meantime, your device is the way to go.
So it'll be 3 different rides that one could take, and 3 different mileage, so that you can decide which pace is best.
In Soundview Park, Arlene Makoko for BronxNet.
And thank you, Arlene. Looks like we had fun there. And I want to let you know that that's all the time we have for our Bronx updates. Listen, we want you to stay connected to us. Don't go anywhere. Open continues coming up right after this. And welcome back. Healthfirst recently announced its collaboration with GalaXe.Solutions to create full-time local tech jobs for Bronx residents. Now, the Outsourced to New York City initiative aims to recruit and train a culturally, racially, and ethnically diverse and inclusive workforce from local communities to full-time salary technology jobs, and is positioned to bring hundreds of technology jobs to the city. Joining us now to share more details, we are pleased to have the Chief Information Officer at Healthfirst, GT Sweeney, and also the CEO of GalaXe.Solutions, Tim Bryan. And gentlemen, thank you and welcome to Open.
Hey, Daren.
Thanks for having us, Daren.
Thank you. And GT, I think this is a great opportunity, of course, for New York City and more particularly for Bronxites, given the fact that as we look at how, the workforce is developing, we're seeing more in the area of science, technology, engineering, math, and we know that tech jobs are really at the forefront these days, and now the ability to bring it home to New York City.
At Healthfirst, we've got about 1,300 people working on technology, and the war for technology talent has never been more intense. So we've gone offshore for talent. At the same time, Healthfirst is a very unique insurance company. The only reason we exist is to serve New Yorkers and help them meet their healthcare needs. We've been talking at Healthfirst increasingly about some of the social determinant barriers that our members face. They oftentimes have challenges accessing healthcare, but they also have challenges accessing other services. They are underrepresented in some fields, including technology. And so it was really those two ideas coming together: the idea that I need talent. We haven't really tapped into the talent in the communities that we serve. So let's bring those two forces together. And at about the same time, I met Tim and the team from GalaXe and learned about their model. And, Tim can talk a little bit more about the history of outsourced to America kind of more broadly. But it was a very compelling model that I'm really excited to kind of be the launch partner in the Bronx with GalaXe.
Yeah. So Tim, give us a little bit more about the model and what GalaXe does.
Well, GalaXe is fortunate to have visionary clients like Healthfirst and GT Sweeney. What's going on here is that we build technology solutions for major corporations. And as GT said, it's all about great talent in addition to great automation and processes and the rest. And if you look at the Bronx in particular, for example, you have maybe the 3rd most densely populated county in the United States. You have maybe something like a 30% poverty rate, and you have a need for talent. So what we've done with GT is that we've put these things together and said, let's develop talent locally. Let's develop talent in our inner cities, and let's really give the folks that live there an opportunity to participate in the American dream. So we've aligned our work for Healthfirst with workforce development in the Bronx. And basically, people are going to be able to go to the GalaXe.Solutions website, GalaXe.com, and apply for jobs. And they will receive training. They will get the opportunity to join our workforce and to support Healthfirst and other companies in the neighborhood. And in doing so, we really are changing the way outsourcing has been for the last 25 or 30 years, where these jobs go offshore. Because of visionary organizations like Healthfirst that are focused on their communities, what we're going to do is we're going to build out the workforce locally. We're going to give people the opportunity to join the workforce, to join a technology company like GalaXe, and really change the paradigm of their lives. So, Daren, if you can imagine our vision, there's a dinner table in the Bronx, and the individual that is providing for that household, if they have a good job with GalaXe, it changes the entire perspective of that household. It becomes a household with expectation of safety, a household with expectation of good health care, a household with expectation of a well-paying job, and really a future for that family. And so our partnership with Healthfirst is all about changing those lives one dinner table at a time in the Bronx.
Yeah. And I want to commend you, gentlemen, too, because I know part of, to be more specific for our viewers, you really are targeting those who are underserved in the Bronx community as well. And that's definitely a particular passion. And yes, it does have the opportunity to really transcend a person's way of life. And also, either one of you can jump in on here, but really a firm career path.
Yeah, that's right. I think, in particular, African-American and Hispanic individuals are underrepresented in the technology industry. We're better than most with we're a very diverse company, but in technology, it's been hard to achieve that diversity. And so I'm very excited to have the communities that we serve build the technology solutions that serve those communities. Who better to build solutions for the communities that we serve than people who grew up and live in the communities that we serve? So it's always been an important part of our strategy.
Yeah. Can you share with us a little bit about the jobs, the actual jobs that people will actually be able to apply for?
What I would say is that it's across the entire breadth of the technology spectrum. So everything from kind of help desk staff to analytics to mobile app developers, cybersecurity engineers. Very compelling leading edge technology.
Daren, American companies need talent, and they need talent across the life cycle of software development. And so it really is an opportunity to address that need through training. And also, as GT said, to identify people in the community that haven't had these kinds of opportunities and give them the opportunity to be trained and to join the workforce. So families in Kingsbridge or in Claremont Village or in Mott Haven, South Bronx, you name it, that have said to themselves, geez, how do I participate in this technology wave? Well, we're going to give them that opportunity. We're going to give them an opportunity for training, employment, participation, and really all of the benefits that go along with that, so that they can each take their shot at achieving the American dream.
That's great. And now, so for people who want to get connected, what do they actually do? They've heard the word. They've heard the word now that this is available and out there. How do they go about doing this?
I think number one is go to GalaXe.com, GalaXe.com, and you'll see a special link for New York and Bronx applicants that are interested in participating in the program. They click that link, it'll start them down the process of a better technology job in the Bronx, and really give them the opportunity to hopefully change their life and really make a difference for their families.
Well, gentlemen, I definitely want to thank you guys for being here and sharing with us here on the show. It's been a pleasure having you, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Daren.
Thanks, Daren. Good talking with you.
All righty. Well, for more information, you heard the websites, you saw the websites on our lower thirds. Make sure that you take an opportunity to get connected as we can talk to both GT and Tim about the work, the technology jobs coming available to the Bronx. We do have more show. We encourage you to stay with us. Don't go anywhere. Open continues coming up right after this.
We know that people are dealing with the health crisis, but there's also a lot of food insecurity.
We're giving out healthy food options, and that's what's key here.
If you're a senior, you have a disability, they'll actually deliver meals to you.
The residents are anxious, they're worried, they're scared, they want to be tested.
When things were happening in our community and we couldn't get the help.
There's almost a presumption of criminality that attaches to your skin color.
The site will prioritize those who are at highest risk in the population.
If you feel symptoms and you'd like to visit one of these COVID-19 testing sites here in the Bronx, you may call the State Health Department's hotline.
Important to note about this site is no reservations are needed. This is a walk-in clinic.
A lot of us are out of work and looking for something to do.
We have the machinery and the skills to make large scales of these masks and gowns.
Take care of your people. It's going to go way further than we actually can understand.
Right now, employees like myself are just adjusting to the new reality.
And welcome back. In the months and years ahead, New York City's leaders will be tasked with helping hard-hit communities across all 5 boroughs recover fully from the social and economic devastation caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as charting a course towards a more equitable future. Now, fortunately, elected officials and policymakers have an incomparable asset and ally in nearly every New York City neighborhood. That is the city's 217 public libraries. What will that mean moving forward? Well, here to show a little bit more about this is about this report is the editorial and policy director of the Center for an Urban Future, Eli Dvorkin. Eli, good to have you back.
Hey, thank you so much for having me back. Great to be with you.
Hey, listen, it's good to have you to really talk about this here, because when we talk about libraries in the context of moving forward, what do you see as being the potential future for libraries as we know it?
Well, libraries are already on the ground in almost every community, serving New Yorkers every day. But I think there's an opportunity to really harness their full potential as the crucial social infrastructure needed to help make sure that we have an inclusive recovery from the effects of the pandemic, and to really lay the foundation for a more equitable future for the long term. And libraries are already doing so much of this today, but the opportunity ahead, I think, is really to tap into their full potential and help them do more in all of these crucial areas where libraries have a unique advantage when it comes to the trust of New Yorkers, the ability to reach New Yorkers where they are in their communities, and the fact that they're already delivering crucial programs and services in all of these areas that really align with New York City's greatest needs today.
So when we talk about the work that's going on right now, there is a Branches to Recovery report. Educate our viewers on this report and what it actually speaks to.
Sure, thanks, Daren. So this report really looks at the opportunity ahead for the next mayor, leaders in the city council, borough presidents, really leaders across city government to tap into this incredible resource that's already in their own backyards, the city's 217 branch libraries. This report looks at some of the greatest challenges that these incoming elected officials will be facing in the months ahead, from helping to stem the learning losses that resulted from a year plus of remote school, to being able to help more teens and young adults get back on the path to college success or careers, to being able to support many of New York City's older adults who not only withstood the incredibly painful health effects of the pandemic, but have also dealt with increasing social isolation. And we see in every one of these areas and more the incredible potential of branch libraries to do more, to be better tapped in as key partners and allies as the city forges a path ahead. So what does that look like? Well, let me give you a couple of quick examples. I mean, let's start with learning loss. We've seen the really painful effects of a year of remote school, and we know that those effects weren't distributed equally across the city. New Yorkers in lower income communities, those families where they maybe already struggled on the wrong side of the digital divide, they didn't have internet connected devices at home, they didn't have reliable broadband. Parents had to keep working, which made being able to supervise school so incredibly challenging. Well, libraries have an amazing role that they can play there. We actually already see in this report that libraries are one of the only providers of drop-in homework help in communities across the city. But right now, those services are only available in about 20 branches in the New York Public Library System, in about a third of the Queens Public Library System, similar percentage of branches in the Brooklyn Public Library System. And that could change with a new investment from city leaders. We could have drop-in homework help in all 217 branch libraries and bring those crucial services to New Yorkers wherever they live. But one other example I'll give you is something that I think people don't know as well about the role of libraries, and that's support for small business owners. Our report actually found that in about 2/3 of neighborhoods across the city, the public library is the only publicly supported hub for small business services in the community, far greater reach than existing services supported by the city's Department of Small Business Services. And libraries are good at this. They have the trust of community members. They really know how to work with small business owners in low-income communities or from low-income backgrounds. But again, the challenge is one of capacity. Brooklyn Public Library is only able to have about 3 or 4 staff members providing those business assistance services across the entire branch system. And we see similarly that there's a real need to be able to expand those services in the other boroughs as well. And in fact, Brooklyn is an example where I think, this is a city that has an abundance of co-working spaces, of incubators, of accelerators, mostly focused on potentially better capitalized businesses or startups in the tech sector, for example. But libraries are one of the only places where we actually have small business accelerators and business plan competitions for lower income entrepreneurs. Brooklyn has the amazing Power Up competition, but that competition could be run in all 5 boroughs. It could be happening multiple cohorts a year. And in fact, Brooklyn has expanded that program to offer those services in other languages besides English. But right now we actually have a Haitian Creole Power Up competition in Brooklyn. Well, why not expand that into 8 or 10 other languages across the city and really bring the power of libraries to help spark entrepreneurship to many more communities across all 5 boroughs?
Can you give me a little bit more of your perspective? Because you'll have people on the other side who say, listen, with the emergence of the internet, things going the way that it is, there's a push from the other side to say we need to minimize libraries. But on your side, you're saying there's a greater necessity. So can you share with us a little bit about why you feel like libraries are a necessity, given the fact of the sign of the times that we're in? I think you talked a little bit about it before, but can you drill down a little bit more? Because you know that there's that opposition out there that says, well, really when it comes to libraries, because you're calling for more funding and even expansion, and some people are saying that we need to shrink back.
Well, I would say I would push back on that a little bit, Daren. I think New Yorkers love their libraries. I think, most folks you speak with, whether it's, in the Bronx or Brooklyn or Staten Island, will tell you, we love our branch library. It's especially for families. It's such a crucial space that's not home. It's not school. It's a trusted, safe space that's out of the house that people really rely on every day. But the numbers actually bear this out. I mean, I would start with just the incredible growth of library programs and services. These days, libraries are serving over 35 million visitors annually. Program attendance has almost tripled over the past decade. Wi-Fi usage at libraries has more than tripled. Libraries are doing more than ever in all of these areas. And I think New Yorkers really see it, but they're doing it with less than 0.4% of the city budget. An annual budget of about $432 million. That's 30% less than the Department of Parks, 63% less than the Department of Corrections, and 92% less than the police department. So to me, the issue is less about making the case that libraries are so essential for New Yorkers, although we have to keep making that case, because as he pointed out, some folks may not see how libraries have pivoted in the digital age. They're not just places to lend books anymore. They're spaces for connection to the digital world, for job training, for folks that are unemployed and looking for help to get back into the workforce, for older adults, for immigrants who really trust libraries more than any other civic institution. But they're doing it with such minimal funding compared to the need and the potential for what libraries could be doing. So to me, I think once you've established that libraries are in fact doing more than ever, and have this incredibly unique advantage to be able to support New York City policymakers in all of these areas with the greatest needs, then you've got to look at the budget. And I think you have to see that $432 million annually is just totally insufficient given the scale of these needs out there. Our report recommends increasing annual funding to $1 billion. And that would put libraries in a position to be able to expand these crucial programs and services to actually meet the full scale of the needs that we're seeing as we emerge from this incredibly devastating 20 months.
One of the things I really loved about one of your priorities is the fact of what you plan on doing with libraries if approved. And that's what you want to do. Take some of their resources on the road. I know that is what you're talking about. Homeless shelters, laundromats, public housing complexes, senior centers, playgrounds. Share with us a little bit more about that. I like that.
Yeah, thanks, Daren. Well, I mean, I think that's really true. At the moment, we know that one of the great advantages of libraries is the fact that they are in almost every community, 217 branches scattered across the city. But even that alone is not enough to reach all the New Yorkers that could really benefit from connections with librarians, frankly, who are so good at helping folks navigate toward programs or services or resources that can really help meet them where they are and help them with their current needs. But we need to be able to bring those services on the road. So to give you an example of why this is so challenging today, right now, with all of that growth that I described, the increase in visitation, the number of users of library services, computers and programs and everything else, libraries are doing all of that with 15% fewer full-time staff now than a decade ago. And that really has an impact when it comes to bringing those services on the road. With additional funding for staff capacity, there could be an outreach librarian in every community taking those incredible programs and services and marketing them, as you said, in laundromats, to homeless shelters, in night shift buildings across the city where, hey, there may be a library just down the road, but not everybody knows that that library is there, that it offers such an incredible array of programs and services, that they're free, that they're welcoming, that they're inclusive, and that they're there for New Yorkers to take advantage of. So by empowering libraries to actually market those programs and services elsewhere in the community, I think we could see those numbers, those 35 million or so visitors, increase significantly, and that would expand the power of what libraries can do in communities all over the city.
Well, Eli, we got to leave it there, but certainly we want to follow this as it continues to go forward. Please let us know how this works out. We've, of course, got the open door to come on back and let us know. So, Eli, thanks a lot for sharing with us.
Thanks so much, Daren. Always a pleasure, and looking forward to the next time.
Yeah, we've got some wonderful public libraries all across New York City, and more particularly right here in the borough of the Bronx. And yes, we can do all that we can to save and preserve them. Now, listen, if you want more information, we encourage you to visit the website at nycfuture.org, and then also follow them on Twitter at nycfuture. We encourage you, don't go anywhere. We've got more open coming up right after this. And welcome back to the show. WHEDco provides support to over 500 business owners near its 3 affordable housing developments, Urban Horizons, Intervale Green, and Bronx Commons. Now, many of these businesses are barely holding on amidst the COVID-19 pandemic, and they've lost customers since the New York City has shut down, I should say the state shut down, and has really struggled to access grants and loans to be able to help them and assist them in their time of need. Now, what initiatives have WHEDco actually been taking to provide services and assist those in need? Well, we're pleased to be joined by the Senior Program Manager of WHEDco, Yesmín Vega. And Yesmín, good to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. And thank you so much for especially having me to talk about small businesses and what WHEDco's doing and how we can all help the small businesses in our communities. So of course, small businesses are doing better than they were a year ago, but unfortunately still haven't totally recovered, still lacking foot traffic, a hard time picking up sales. And, WHEDco's been building our internal capacity to be able to help more of these 500 businesses we serve in our neighborhoods with more one-on-one technical assistance. We help them with marketing and setting up a website. and connecting them with grants. And I want to especially mention the New York State Small Business Recovery Grant Program for the pandemic. We're helping small businesses apply, and businesses that have gross revenues between 25,000 and 2.5 million are eligible to apply if they've had 25% or more loss between 2019 and 2020. And WHEDco's here to help you small businesses for free. We get a lot of calls like, oh, do you charge? No, for free, to help you get your documents in order, to help you complete this New York State Small Business Grant application. And I will give you all the details on how you can reach us, but you can always text or call us at 347-973-0945. And we're helping small businesses apply to this New York State COVID-19 Pandemic Small Business Recovery Grant Program. I wanted to get the full name in there.
Right. And when we talk about this here, because helping them recover is important. And I think that the opportunity for grants are great, but we also know that business is definitely going to be needed. And so with the holidays around the corner, we know that a lot of people have really delved to go online, particularly in the COVID environment. But talk to me a little bit about that foot traffic, really going in the doors and making those sales, because that's also going to be another way that some of our businesses can really start to see some life again.
Absolutely. And there's nothing more important than shopping locally at the small businesses in our neighborhoods and supporting, even if it's just buying maybe a couple Christmas decorations, or we're not asking that you have to spend a lot of money, but really be conscious in knowing who are these small business owners around you, what stores are around you. And even if you don't necessarily have much money to spend at these businesses, word of mouth, tell your friends about them. If you get your nails done at a great place, don't keep it to yourself. Share the love, spread news on social media, because it's so much more than just buying. And of course, it's important to show your support how you can, but it doesn't have to be monetarily. It could be advertising them, telling people you know about them, popping in, saying hello to the owner. And because at the end of the day, it's such a beautiful ecosystem that we have as neighbors, as residents of a neighborhood, and as the small business owners as well. And if we support them, they'll support the neighborhood, and it will just really create more beautiful, lively, safer communities to live in. So, please shop local in your neighborhood stores while we can. The WHEDco works with the Southern Boulevard Merchant Association. We have a website, southernboulevard.org, where you can see all the neighborhood businesses, what they offer. But really, it's simple, and it's not just about spending some money. It's also about telling people about it. And really, we have to start thinking about each other and about making that extra effort to support the small business. I know it's so easy to click online, click, and get something, but it's really, if anything, especially I've learned during this pandemic as well, is to really go that extra step to just pop in a store and buy a little something.
Yeah. And I want to share with our viewers, you have the opportunity of really getting together. I saw your background, and it's quite festive back there as you're beginning to celebrate the Christmas spirit. And also a little bit later on tonight, I should say, is a tree lighting ceremony.
Yes, so we are super excited to be featuring I think it's our 6th or 7th annual Melrose tree lighting at Railroad Park on 161st Street, right in front of the Melrose Metro North stop. And this year, much like last year, we won't be having a big event, but we encourage people to check out the tree. It'll be lit every night through Christmas, starting tonight, and take pictures. And it's something that we have every year, and we really encourage people to stop by tonight. While it not be an official event, you can stop by, help decorate. And you can actually keep this Christmas spirit going, because on the 21st, popping in here, we'll be having a Melrose Parranda, which is the Puerto Rican caroling session. That the tree will be one of the stop in the caroling, and it's super fun. The meeting spot is the Bronx Music Hall Plaza, which is right across the street from Brady College at 161st Street. and bring your instruments. And, it's going to be led by Bobby Sanabria and other Bronx musicians, stopping by different little casitas and community gardens in Melrose. It'll be super festive. You'll be able to see the tree, take pictures, have fun, to really get into this. I mean, we're in Christmas spirit, but to really get into the mood and the holiday.
Yeah, it's a wonderful time of the year, as somebody says, and well, actually, the saying is it's the most beautiful time of the year. I feel it's like the most beautiful time of the year, and that's an opportunity for people to really come together. And speaking of come together, I want to have the opportunity for you to share with us a little bit, because in the work that you're doing with WHEDco, there is also the Southern Boulevard Coalition, and they're doing some great things too. So educate our viewers a little bit about the Southern Boulevard Coalition.
Okay, yes. So the Southern Boulevard Coalition came together in 2019, really in earnest, around the proposed Southern Boulevard rezoning. And I'm sure you've heard of the Jerome Avenue rezoning a couple miles away in the Bronx, East New York, East Harlem. So we came together, a group of about 9 community organizations and community residents and small businesses, to fight back against this rezoning and really come together as a community to step up and let the city know and the elected officials know what we want in the neighborhood, not have them come here and tell us that they want to see more buildings, but without any benefit to the residents and the small businesses. And we were so grateful for the support of Councilmember Rafael Salamanca, that with his help, we were actually able to stop the rezoning for Southern Boulevard. So that is no longer on the table. And we are celebrating this moment, and we recently released a report that highlights this work that we've done together as a community. And we're looking to come together in 2022 more to do more community events, and just launch the website too, where you can read the report, read more about the coalition, read more about rezoning. It's sbcbronx.org. And that's another thing that, it's a lot of coming together. We're coming together as a community, coming together in different organizations. So really excited to be able to share this report with everyone who helped us get this great win that kind of was a little lost in COVID a little bit. This huge community win with the support of the Councilmember Salamanca, that we were able to stop this rezoning, but the work is not over, because the community is still here, of course, and we don't want to fall apart. We want to continue to strengthen and come together and keep building together.
Well, Yesmín, thank you so much for being with us. And as you prepare for this holiday celebration tonight, all the best wishes. And yes, definitely best wishes for our small businesses, who are the heartbeat of our economy. And hopefully they can get the help that they need, especially in a time like this. Yesmín, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much.
All righty. Well, we want our viewers to know, if you want more information, we encourage you to visit their website at WHEDco.org. And then also their social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram at WHEDco Speaks. We do have more show. We encourage you, don't go anywhere. Open will continue coming up right after this.
If you're struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit, or call toll-free at 833-511-0311. That's 833-511-0311.
And welcome back. The Disability Rights Advocates is the leading national not-for-profit disability rights legal center with the mission of creating equal rights and opportunity for all people with all types of disabilities nationwide. Now, they recently filed a lawsuit against the New York City Department of Education for a Bronx middle school teacher. And here now to share with us more is a little bit of staff attorney at Disability Rights Advocates. We're pleased to be joined by Emily Seelenfreund. And thank you, Emily, for joining us.
Thanks so much, Daren, for having me on.
And so let's begin. As I shared with a little bit with our viewers, recently a lawsuit was filed on behalf of New York, I should say against the New York City Department of Education for a Bronx middle school teacher. Give us a little background into this.
Absolutely. So Danielle Anderson is really an excellent teacher. She has been with the Department of Education for over 10 years. She teaches 8th grade English, but she's taught in other roles as well. She's been a school leader. She was in the principal's pool for promising educators. But despite all of that, every day at school was a challenge, and not just kind of the standard problems that middle school teachers deal with, but because she could not use the restroom at her school. Miss Manderson uses a power wheelchair, and there was no restroom in her entire Bronx middle school that was accessible to her.
Wow. And so therefore a lawsuit. Talk to us about the case and where it is.
So we obviously first attempted to work with the DOE to settle the case, but we were unable to do so. So we brought a lawsuit, and there were other accessibility barriers that Ms. Manderson was facing as well. The fire safety room, which is her designated evacuation point in the event of an emergency, was basically filled with all kinds of storage, basically. And so there was no way for her to navigate her power wheelchair to the window. So it was a big safety hazard for her. And then she wanted to be able to grade her students' journals electronically because lugging home 90 journals was nearly impossible for her. But the DOE was unwilling to commit to that. So we filed this lawsuit, and I'm pleased to announce that we were able to settle the lawsuit and get relief for Ms. Manderson. So there will be a restroom that she can use in her Bronx Middle School. The DOE has committed to maintaining a path of travel through the fire safety room, and has committed to ensuring that her students can journal electronically on computers.
Excellent. And I use all that as a forum to just really as a launching pad to say about the work that you do, because you do work and great work in terms of advocating for those who have disabilities. When it comes to where we are in New York City and across the nation, how do you feel about the receptivity towards those with disabilities? Are we becoming more tolerant and more acceptable in the things that are being required?
Yeah, so I mean, in some ways, people with disabilities are doing much better than we were 30 years ago. We have a very expansive civil rights law, the Americans with Disabilities Act, which celebrated its 30th birthday last year. So congrats to the ADA. But what people don't know about the ADA is that private citizens need to go out and enforce it. It did not come with a regulatory board or an ADA police who are going to go around and say, there's a stair here. There's no pedestrian signal for a blind person to be able to cross here. And so it's the job of organizations like Disability Rights Advocates and like brave plaintiffs like Danielle Manderson to go ahead and make that change for us. And so we're making progress, but I would note that a 2018 report noted that only 1 in 5 schools in the New York City Department of Education are fully accessible. That means 80% of schools have accessibility barriers. And that means folks like Ms. Manderson every day go to school and battle those barriers.
Yeah. And so when we talk about these barriers, I mean, what are some of the common barriers that we see that we may not be so familiar with?
Well, I can talk about something that most New Yorkers face on a daily basis, especially if they're commuting. They get outside and they hop on the subway. For many folks, that's easy. For folks with disabilities, that's significantly less easy. Only 25% of New York City subway stations have an elevator or an accessible path of travel to get to the train. This influences every part of being a New Yorker. It influences where you live. It influences if you can get drinks after work, et cetera. And DRA has filed 2 large class action lawsuits against the MTA seeking to change this. I myself use a wheelchair and really struggle to get around New York City.
Yeah. And we know that transit can be such a challenge, and particularly during the winter season. What has been the response of MTA and New York City transit system when it comes to dealing with these matters? Are we seeing an expansion of possibly elevators?
So we have been in litigation with the MTA for 4 years on this topic. We have heard them for the first time in a long time recognize that accessibility is a priority, and it's not just something nice to do, but something kind of legally required and that must be done. But what we're encouraging them to do now is commit to a long-term plan to provide full access to the system, because we all know priorities can change, right? There can be catastrophes, there can be pandemics, and future administrations might not be so committed. So we want them to commit now so that future administrations don't have a choice but to prioritize access.
Yeah, I know in doing some research about your work, you emphasize that people of color, particularly Black, Brown, and Indigenous people with disabilities are especially impacted by disability rights violations. Can you share a little bit more about that?
Well, there is a huge correlation, first of all, between disability and poverty, and I think that's important to note. Many people with disabilities struggle to work, and that's not because they all can't work in many situations, but because we have not kind of gotten rid of the access barriers that make it difficult for them to work. And so that is really important, and DRA recognizes that confluence. And secondly, and I'm sorry that we have a visitor in the back.
That's all right.
The second thing I would note is that like many civil rights movements, kind of the most privileged have come to the front, and that was often white folks with disabilities. And I think now our organization is recognizing that kind of we've prioritized the most privileged voices in the disability community, and that's often white folks with disabilities for far too long. And so we are and because of that, kind of their needs were attended to first, leaving behind the needs of BIPOC communities in many circumstances. And I think our organization now is making a concerted effort to do outreach to other groups to make sure that the disability rights movement is for everyone, because disability really can impact everyone. It does not discriminate on the basis of race, religion, gender, etc.
Yeah. So how have you been getting the message out?
I think be aware. If you're walking down the street and you're trying to cross the street and you realize there's no accessible pedestrian signal for a blind person to cross, tell a friend. Just talk about disability and do what you can to make your spaces accessible and get involved. Join a protest. We're often outside of subway stations trying to get the MTA to do the right thing. So yeah, hop on there and grab a sign and help us make the world more accessible.
Well, certainly we want to thank you so much for joining us and the work that you've done on behalf of those with disabilities. And thank you for being with us, Emily.
Thank you so much for having me and for spotlighting this important issue.
All righty. Well, we'll let you know if you want more information. Please visit the website, dralegal.org, and follow them on social media at DRA Legal. Listen, we got more show. Don't go anywhere. Open continues coming up right after this.
We built a media network for you.
BronxNet TV.
Come learn in your new state-of-the-art studios at Lehman College.
At Mercy College.
And coming soon to the South Bronx in the Hub.
Inspire with your stories, culture, history.
Your Bronx on BronxNet.
Engage with us.
Connect with us at your channels and at BronxNet.tv.
Learn, engage, inspire. BronxNet TV.
From the Bronx
to the world.
BronxNet.
And welcome back to the show. The Jewish Association Serving the Aging is a leading expert and an innovator in aging services, recognizing the diversity among the aging population and honors older adults as vital members of society. Now, the organization provides critical services to over 40,000 people in New York City annually. And joining us now to share more about the programs and give us some tips is the co-chief program officer of JASA, and that is Danielle Palmisano. And thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for inviting us. Very pleased to be here.
Yeah, so I gave my viewers a little bit of an intro into who you are for somebody who may not be so familiar, and what I left out, you go ahead and take it away.
Sure. So JASA, we are very proud to be the go-to agency serving older adults throughout New York City. We provide critical services to, as you mentioned, over 40,000 older adults annually. And our life-changing services really allow older adults to age with purpose and dignity in the community, and helps provide autonomy to those who really need some extra supports to remain in their homes safely and in their communities. JASA ensures that the needs of seniors are met through, we provide affordable senior housing. We are one of the largest nonprofit managers of senior housing in New York City. We, in addition, provide services such as home delivered meals, legal services, mental health support, protective services, innovative virtual programming, and community building initiatives. We visualize our organization and our work really in kind of 3 different pillars. We are a provider of health services and home care services. We're a licensed home care agency. We are a landlord providing affordable, safe senior housing, and a provider of social services and case management to help ensure that older adults have the services that they need to remain safely in the community. And one of our biggest priority is really to make sure that we help support older New Yorkers so that they can age with dignity. We provide social workers, group programming, case management. We have services on site at a number of our affordable senior housing programs, and want to make sure help support people so that they can remain independent, connected to people, that they're connected to the things that give them pleasure in life, and that we help just make sure that their needs are met.
And so when you talk about services and home care services, obviously very vital during a time such as this. Talk to us about seniors, and particularly after COVID-19. I mean, a lot of people were definitely directly impacted, but we're talking about a most vulnerable population right now. And so how are you able to navigate the services there?
Yeah, COVID certainly changed the way that we do our work, as it changed everyone's world. And those that were most vulnerable in the community became even more vulnerable. JASA adapted the way that we do our work very quickly, but we maintained all of our life-sustaining interventions throughout the city, organizing things such as grocery deliveries, helping older adults get their vaccine. We've arranged vaccine clinics and booster clinics, transportation. In the early days of the pandemic, when individuals, were having a hard time getting groceries and other needed supplies, JASA social workers were out on the front line making home visits, helping arrange for deliveries and accessing needed supports and supplies such as PPE and all other things that individuals needed, and that frail elders really were struggling in order to identify and secure on their own. And again, we work with a lot of people that are very isolated in the community. They don't have family members that they can call. They don't have other people that could really help them manage through all of this. Yeah. Another thing that we did was we implemented a lot of virtual programming. So when the senior center shut down, we were able to really continue to engage individuals so that they can continue to participate in different kinds of, virtual social programming, educational programming, and also just different ways to get information out to folks.
And so can you tell me a little bit about, when it talks about food insecurity? I want to talk about that for a minute, because we talked about COVID. We know that got further exacerbated across the city for city residents, and more particularly for seniors, because when you're shut in and you really have to mask up and social distance, I know that a lot of people were really adversely affected. Talk to us about the effect that you saw, that you felt, and how you're able to combat that.
Food insecurity is a really growing problem throughout the U.S. There are currently, it's estimated 7.3 million older Americans that are currently food insecure. And how that affects us in New York is it breaks down to approximately 1 in 8 older New Yorkers have food insecurity. And as you mentioned, this was tremendously exacerbated during COVID. So one of JASA's services, we're a large provider of home delivered meals. To give you a size and scope of the program, last year we provided over 1 million meals to older New Yorkers. This operation continued throughout COVID. Many times our Meals on Wheels drivers and deliverers are really the only connection that an older adult may have. This continued. We also provide grab and go meals through our senior centers, JASA senior centers throughout New York City. Service those as a meal provider that has continued during the pandemic. We also have through our in-home support, social workers who help individuals access things such as food stamps to address food insecurity, help arranging for in-home grocery deliveries so that they're able to access the services that access the groceries that they need. And for those who may need assistance with meal preparation, arranging services such as home delivered meals for those who may not have it. Right now, JASA is currently having a fundraising campaign to raise awareness about food insecurity amongst older adults. It's called JASA Eats, and it is looking to raise awareness and also help raise critical funds to provide additional meals and additional services to older adults who are food insecure. We are launching a JASA Eats recipe book, and we encourage those who are interested to check out our website. It's jasa.org, and submit any recipes that you may have so that we can share this through our communities and with those that are interested in learning more. And again, just to raise awareness about food insecurity and raise critical funds.
Yeah, and we know here in the borough of the Bronx, we have a lot of our viewers who are watching, and there's some resources that you have that are actually available to those who are in the Bronx. So give our viewers a little bit of insight into some of the resources that are out there.
Absolutely. So JASA has a very large service presence in the Bronx. We currently have 8 senior centers. We have mental health services, case management services. We have affordable senior housing. If you check out our website, www.jasa.org, there is a map that will show all of our different service locations in the Bronx. We also have a help center where individuals can call to get some additional information. We've been a provider in the Bronx for over 50 years and have a really extensive network of services.
Yeah. And so as you're going forward into the new year, what would you like people to know about some of the things that you've got going on?
So again, JASA is, we are continuing to work through the pandemic, helping to identify those who are in need, continue to offer virtual programming, make sure that older adults are able to get access to booster clinics and access the services that they need. We want to raise awareness of issues such as food insecurity, and just want to ask folks to be mindful of your neighbors and your friends and your family members. We're all kind of managing through very, very complicated times, and it's even harder for those who are more vulnerable in the community.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming and sharing with us here on Open, and certainly for people who want more information, how they go about doing that.
So you can please check out our website, www.jasa.org, give you information on our JASA Eats fundraising campaign, a menu of all of our services, and how to reach us.
All righty. And then also, we want to thank you, Danielle, for being with us, and want to tell our viewers that if you want more information, yes, you can also check them out on social media at JASA Seniors, and you can find out all the great work that's going on there. Danielle, again, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having us.
All righty. Well, listen, we want to let our viewers know we've come to the end of our show today. We want to thank all of our guests for joining us, and most of all, you, the viewer, for tuning in. Now, if you missed any part of today's show, you are more than welcome to catch the recablecast on Bronx Channel 67. Also, if you have Verizon Files, that would be Channel 2133, or anytime on the web at bronxnet.org. Now, if you're saying, Daren, I want a brand new episode of Open, well, I'll tell you what to do. Come back on Friday morning. My girl, Rena Valentine, will be here on Open Friday, and she will bring you the best of arts and entertainment and carry you into the weekend. But until then, I am Daren Jaime saying thank you for watching this Wednesday edition of Open. Take care, God bless, and most of all, keep this channel wide open.